After the Caitlin Clark stalker gets arrested, Jemele Hill deletes a tweet about Caitlin Clark. I wonder why. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Hit the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. So I think everybody watching this video probably knows who Jemele Hill is. She used to be with ESPN, and then I don't know if she got fired or what. She's out on her own, and she keeps commentating on black and white things in sports, and she always has a poor take, in my opinion. Almost always. Let's put it that way. And she's not well liked right now, or even respected, because she goes too far with it. And here's a perfect example. I mean, goes too far. She takes too much of the black perspective to the point where it's actually anti-white, and it's factually inaccurate. And here's
Mark, let's clarify that by black perspective. I mean,
what she calls it.
Yeah, that's what she calls it, but that's her. I mean, it should be more like her perspective, not a black perspective.
Okay, it's fine, but. Like people like Natalie Esquire, she calls, things that she takes in from the black perspective. She puts that in her description. So I was using that as someone similar. Yeah. But you can call it whatever you want. But when it goes too far, it's just a poor perspective. Here's Jemele Hill. We'll go through this sentence by sentence. And this is not the date. Looks like it was 9/27/24. But she coincidentally deleted it yesterday, right after the stalker got arrested. Of course, it wasn't a coincidence. She did it on purpose because she's a coward. But anyways, she could have just admitted it was a bad take, but she just deleted it instead. And could have apologized. She said, "I don't like to play the oppression Olympics." Of course, she does like to. That's false. But has Cece had to delete her social media accounts? No, but her teammate Aaliyah Boston did. So let's stop right there. Caitlin Clark is not on social media almost ever, she said. And it's my understanding that the reason she's not on it is because someone else runs it for her. And it's not really that active like Angel Reese is, because she doesn't think social media is that important for basketball players. She just wants to play basketball.
Yes, good for her.
So that's irrelevant since she doesn't, and she doesn't just ignores the comment, which is what everyone else should do. But Aaliyah Boston felt it was too much and she deleted her account. Fine. That's her personal choice. I'm not going to pick on Aaliyah Boston for doing that. But the reason Aaliyah Boston got picked on was because she was out of shape and wasn't playing well. And there was no reason for her to not come into camp in the preseason out of shape because they have a short season to begin with. So they have a long off season.
Right.
So, and she wasn't catching the ball and she was missing layups and stuff like that. And she's just out of shape. And people are giving her a hard time. They weren't giving her a hard time because of race. They were giving her a hard time because she wasn't playing well. That's how sports fans are. Yeah. So, she's a nice person. Everybody likes her. So I think it was a very small percentage of people doing that.
Right.
And, Caitlin Clark fans got blamed for that. So I have to be Caitlin Clark fans that did that. It could just been a Fever fans that were Fever fans before. Right. They were disappointed that your play dropped off from the year before as a rookie when they expected it to go up.
Right.
That's irrelevant in terms of Caitlin Clark because you're comparing apples and oranges. CC has given out a few hard shots herself, talk trash. I'll stop right there. Anytime she's given out hard shots, the person did it to her first. Anytime she talked trash, at least since she's been in the WNBA, the person did it to her first. So that's irrelevant.
Yeah, plus, I mean, no, I don't think so, because if that's the case, she would have gone more off on how she wasn't getting the flagrant fouls called on her.
We'll get to that. That's the next line, Rob.
Okay. I'm going to have myself. Okay.
But my point is, she is not a dirty player. She starts out a game, and like, for instance, if someone reaches and grabs and holds her, then the next time she dribbles down the court, she pushes her arm out and pushes the person away. And then the anti-Caitlin Clark fans say, "Oh, look at her. She's pushing off with the arm. She's charging." No, she did it because the ref didn't call the foul on the last time she was down the court. I've been watching her for 4 years. I know how she is. She doesn't start out dirty, and she doesn't start out anything. She's done a little trash talking in college. I haven't seen almost any trash talking in the WNBA, and I've seen her never start the trash talking. But that's just me.
And Mark, when that happens when you're playing basketball, if the ref's not going to call it, I mean, it used to be the hand checking. And I remember that you dribbling the ball, and the guy could able to like almost like guide you with their hand. So I used to do that. I used to just knock their hand away, like get your hand off of me, you know. And the referee, if they're not, like I said, for her, they never called it. But then if she reacts to anything, that's why she doesn't come out and say anything about it, because that's what happens. People are like, oh, see, she did it. Look what she did.
Or they said, well, she's complaining, or they would say she was complaining to the refs, which is the next line.
Right.
It says, so the whole sentence goes, CC has given out a few hard shots herself, talked trash, jawed with the refs. Okay. She jawed with the refs a couple times when she got hit in the head or, fouled really hard, and it was right in front of a ref and they didn't call a foul. So one time she said that's an effing foul. Sometimes she said that's a foul. Whatever. If you're on the bad end of calls for 42 straight games, which it seems like with Caitlin Clark, at least 80% of the time she was on the bad end of calls, you're eventually going to complain to the refs that you're not getting the calls. So again, they put her in that position. And then when she complains, you're saying, oh, she's a crybaby, basically what they're saying.
Or like Angel Reese says, she's getting all the calls.
Yeah, special whistle, right?
Special whistle.
I've never seen an athlete get a worse whistle than Caitlin Clark, and I've been watching sports for 60 years. Never in my life. For 60 years have I seen an athlete get worse whistles. In fact, I've never seen a team get worse whistles. Leah Boston got a bad whistle when she goes up against Asia Wilson because they wanted Asia Wilson to win that game and win the MVP. Yeah. So all this is false. But anyways, she goes on in the same sentence and says, and yet anytime she is subject to physical play, a hard foul, or trash talk, opposing players are absolutely villainized.
Absolutely. Wow.
Absolutely. Villainized. Not villainized, but absolutely villainized.
Oh.
They're only villainized if it's a hard foul that's dirty, and especially if it's not called, because that's dirty play. It doesn't matter that happened to Caitlin Clark. All players, when they get cheap shotted by another player, the other player gets villainized by fans. This is not subject to only Caitlin Clark fans. This is
so like when she got hip checked by Kennedy and then goes over the sidelines and her teammate high fives her for it, smiles, and the coach does nothing about it. Or when she gets poked in the eye and the player walks over and kind of giggles and talks about it and makes a video joke about it. No, they shouldn't be villainized, right?
Right. No, not because it's Caitlin Clark. None of this. The rules are the same for Caitlin Clark. We'll talk about that. But the reason that people are upset about this is because Caitlin Clark got more hard fouls and more physical play than anyone else in the league, and then they weren't called. So she had a certain percentage of, like, I think 20% of all the flagrant fouls called, but yet most of them weren't even called. So she was actually probably subject to about 50% of the flagrant fouls in the entire league, and there's 144 people in the league. That's what people are upset about, and a lot of them were just cheap and dirty because the people were jealous and envious of her.
Right.
That's what they're complaining about. Okay.
And also, like we said before, the main complaint is that the WNBA they say it's okay. It's like, oh, that's all right. That's the way we play. That's the way the league is, physical league. So it's okay. So you can't even go. You go. It comes right down from the top. When I did a thing about the referees where the commissioner tells the refs to follow this type of physical play, not to let the refs call it the way you're supposed to call it. If it's a foul, you have to follow their scripts. Like, hey, it's physical, so don't call that.
Okay, right. Next sentence was, she is not constantly subjected to racial slurs. All right, let's stop right there. It's our understanding that Liz Dunn said that Caitlin Clark was called the white bee so many times she had to complain to the WNBA about it. I never actually heard anyone say it. I know when Kennedy Carter shoved her to the ground, she called her the bee. I don't think you could kind of see her lips move, and I don't think she said the white bee. I've never heard anyone say it, but that's what Lynn Dunn told an interviewer. So, okay. So that's not true, that she's not constantly subject to racial slurs. And it's also not true that some Angel Reese fans have not said racial things about Caitlin Clark, because it's on X. It's on X that Caitlin Clark fans said it to Angel Reese too. But it doesn't seem to bother anybody that the Angel Reese fan says it to Caitlin Clark.
Yet the WNBA says that that's not happening. It's mostly on the other side where the Caitlin Clark fans are the ones causing this so-called racial abuse to the black players, not the black players fans causing any kind of abuse to Caitlin Clark. It's not that's not how it is.
No, because everyone's complaining about Caitlin Clark fans saying racial things to them. We heard Alyssa Thomas said, and DJ Carrington, who has said racial things herself, complain about that. But Rob, you have to understand, like, Caitlin Clark has 10 times to 100 times more fans than any other player. If her fans say racial things, of course it's going to happen more often because she has way more fans. You got to look at the percentage of fans that are saying this. And so her number of fans are higher because she has more fans. The percentage could be absolutely the same or even less in terms of how many they are saying these bad things. Angel Reese has a lot of fans too. And there's been a lot of bad. I don't know who says more bad things or higher percentage.
The main thing is, Mark, is that on both sides, it might not, like we said before, it might not. It's not even the fans, just some trolls.
I
trolls
know.
on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, this has all been covered before.
Yeah, it's trolls. It not necessarily has to be the one. There are Angel Reese's fans or Caitlin Clark fans. It's a bunch of trolls who are on social media, have nothing else better to do. And it's just to troll people out. That's what they do.
A certain percentage of trolls out there in sports. And Caitlin Clark is going to have some trolls. That's all there is to it. Like I said, she's got more fans than anybody else. So she's going to have more trolls. That's just the way it is. So she is not constantly subjected to racial slurs. And whatever hate she does experience, she is not told to toughen up. False. Completely false. In fact, twice at least by someone on ESPN, I forget which one, but L. Duncan was one of them. And then someone else said it. Something like, what do you want them to baby her? Okay, and things like that. They said, "Oh, she's not being subjected to it. She's not getting physical play." The people, their fans are just complaining. This is just normal fouls. That's not true. So they've been not only they said it, Rob, they've inferred it by saying this really isn't even happening.
So she should toughen up and deal with those fouls and not complain about it. Just go about her merry way, and just doesn't matter. Why is she doing this? Be like the other players who, of course, are getting the same abuse as she is. Of course, Mark, they're getting the same abuse, Not.
And then she said, or that her feelings don't matter. Yeah, they have said that. They say she complains too much to the refs and that these fragrant fouls and stuff like that, she's not supposed to say anything about that. She's not supposed to complain. Oh, my God. She has not complained even though she's been abused. And yet she still has the gall to say that.
She still takes the high. She drives us, both of us, nuts because she takes the high road all the time instead of going off. She doesn't go off like you and I would have done. She takes the high road, even being poked in the eye, which could have really ended her career. That was a career-ending attempt right there by Carrington. If it really had gotten in there with those long-ass fingernails. Excuse my French, but that could have ruined her career. That would have been it. How scary is that?
I think.
But no, they just play it off. Oh, come on, toughen up. They sound like the parent, with a kid who's growing up and they're trying to train them for a sport, and the kid's getting, that falls on the ground. Says, come on, get up. You're not hurt. Come on, keep going. That's abuse.
Rob, this kills me because all season long, no one other than Caitlin Clark fans have any concern about Caitlin Clark's feelings in terms of what she went through. She went through more abuse than any athlete since I've been watching sports in 60 years. And no one cared about her feelings other than the Caitlin Clark fans. That's it. They're the only one that cared. So to say this, all this is just the opposite.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mark. It's not even a physical thing. It's the mental aspect of her dealing with it, how she handled it mentally. I give her props to that. That's the main thing. The physical she probably can handle. But it's the mental stuff that she really probably got bothered her.
I can't tell you how much this quote bothers me. She is not subjected to both sidisms, which is false because all the examples we just said up above counters that. And her last sentence, or her last half a sentence was, nor are people trying to justify any hatred against her.
What are you freaking talking about? This is what I'm saying. That's what she said. This is black perspective. This is her black perspective.
They've tried to justify it the whole time. In fact, first of all, Rob, during like the dialogue, they give different excuses. Their first excuse is there's no hatred against her. Okay, so they don't have to. They're not even trying to justify because they're saying it doesn't exist.
Right.
But when they do, they're saying, "Oh, Caitlin Clark did all the things that she says in the beginning of the paragraph about hard shots herself, talk trash, jawed with the refs."
So she deserves it. So even if she did that, she deserves it. She deserves that. So she shouldn't be crying about it. She deserves that. The stuff that never happened, she deserves it.
Oh, her last sentence is actually in the next separate paragraph where she goes, "That's the difference." Yeah, there's no difference. None of that, Rob. Every half a sentence there I went through was untrue.
Right.
Every phrase in her thing was untrue. There wasn't one thing that was true. And in fact, I would say in every example, it's just the opposite. Nobody cared about protecting Caitlin Clark or cared about her feelings the entire year. And she decides to delete this instead of saying, "Oh, yeah, I do kind of care about Caitlin Clark's feelings. That she was being stalked. I have some sympathy for her." Instead, she just deleted this post and not even
always after the fact, Mark. Oh, geez, wow, maybe she is getting abused. Gee whiz. Oh my. Uh-oh. I guess.
Well, why would people think this isn't going to happen to her eventually anyways? Because here's the thing. It happened to Paige Beckers. Paige Becker has way fewer fans than Caitlin Clark.
Right.
So this is not surprising that she has a stalker, first of all. And we'll talk about that in another video. So what is the key here is that people never cared that Caitlin Clark was going through a lot or cared about her feelings or how she was handling all this, because she went through more crap for a longer period of time than anyone can imagine, with more pressure and eyes on her. And she handled it more maturely than anyone can imagine for a 22-year-old.
But yeah, I mean, she handled it way better than definitely me. And I don't know about you, but definitely
I could not have handled this at 22.
No,
99.9% of the people couldn't have either. But
right,
no,
but she did. No. But they don't give her any credit. I mean, they don't give her any credit for that. I give her credit for that. But now I'm just hoping with the new year coming up, I hope she since it doesn't matter what she says, or actually what she doesn't say, it seems like it doesn't matter. So now she might as well say, okay, fine, I might as well speak out because it doesn't matter because they're going to say something about me anyway. Even if I don't speak out, I got railed on for it. So I'm speaking out. I'm calling them out.
What bothers me about this, Rob, is that Jemele Hill's always calling out race, but there's no other explanation for her delusional tweet here that's so factually inaccurate that she's being a racist herself when she puts a tweet out like that. Because it's obvious her perspective doesn't care about the white individual in this scenario. She only cares about the black. Caitlin Clark just wants to play ball. She doesn't see. That's what's so interesting about this. Caitlin Clark doesn't see race. Her biggest basketball hero is black. All her teammates who are black all like her, both at Iowa, which was only a couple, and here a lot of the black players, she's earned the respect for her. You saw the All-Star game.
Yeah,
most of the team was black on her team, and by the end of the All-Star game, they loved Caitlin Clark. The ones that get to know her, and she doesn't.
And that's why I like the youth, Mark. Like I said, I go back to the youth. They don't give a crap. It's the older people or people who are stuck back in time who care about that stuff. These young kids don't care. They're like I said this before. Their principal is black. Their math teachers. The math teacher is Asian. Their science teacher is gay. They don't give a crap. They don't care as long as they're nice to them and they do their thing. They're doing their thing.
I get the impression Caitlin Clark is, I mean, everyone sees race, but I'm saying in terms of how she relates to people, the color of their skin does not affect how she treats them or talks about them. And she also, when she talks about the past WNBA players, she lists the black players first and more of them, a lot more of them. And even though there's only 1/3 of the stars in the league have been white, the right. Superstars. So, that's the sad part about this is the racism against Caitlin Clark when she's not racist.
So Jemele Hill cowardly took the coward way out. And the whole thing is now if you wanted to stand by it, why'd you erase it? Why don't you stand up? If you think you're so right about this, why'd you have to erase it if you thought it was so right?
Yeah, I don't even know how it came up. She just erased it. That's the only reason it came up. I didn't
Yeah,
even see this tweet when it came out in 924. I try not to pay attention to Jemele Hill because she's
you're a coward.
almost
She's a
always
coward.
wrong.
She's a coward.
So, anyways, especially when it comes to Caitlin Clark. She obviously doesn't like Caitlin Clark. She doesn't like the fact that this white woman has got a lot of attention, made a lot of money in a black sport. So her perspective is all skewed, and she's anti-Caitlin Clark because of race. And that's what I don't like about
using
Jemele Hill.
her black perspective.
Yeah, well, she's delusional.
Disgusting.
So anyways, this take, I wish I saw this before. I would have talked about it in 924, but I didn't. But I'm glad it came up because it's just another example of Jemele Hill being an idiot. So, and that's the nicest word I can think of.
Yeah, not other words I know we're thinking of. I could say in Chinese, but nobody will understand it.
Anyways, let us know what you think about this video. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you do, maybe share it with your family, friends, and acquaintances. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so and hit the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. And join us for our live show. That's every Monday except for major holidays, 6 to 8 Eastern time. And you can call them for that show. It's pretty cool. And if you want to donate to this channel, you can with super chats and super thanks. And there's a link to PayPal. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.